Hi there, my name is Michael Blank, and you're in the right place if you want to learn all about apartment building investing. And today I'm going to talk about the situation where the broker asks you for proof of funds and you, well, don't have any. So I write a lot about raising money because it's a critical skill to learn if you want to get into apartment building investing, and you would want to do that so that you can replace your income with real estate in the next 3 to 5 years. So raising money is critical because most people don't have a ton of their own money. Now, here's one of the challenges of raising money is sometimes you get asked by the broker for proof of funds. And as a syndicator, well, the reason you're raising money is because you don't have the funds. So therefore, you have no proof of your non-existent funds. And you have a real problem. And so I want to share with you kind of 6 tips on how to address the situation of proof of funds. And there's actually 6 of them. Here they are. So tip number 1 is don't sound like a newbie. All right, now the vast majority, there's really 2 reasons why brokers ask for proof of funds. Is one, because you sound like a newbie and they're concerned that you won't be able to close because you don't know what you're doing. And number 2 is because they're following a checklist that they either put in place themselves or the seller insists on proof of funds to weed out the riffraff. But the vast majority, 80% of the time, is because you sound like a newbie. And this is a great way for the broker to make the newbie knuckleheads, tire kickers, go away. And so they ask for proof of funds. So tip number 1 is don't sound like a newbie. I have an article on this on the website, themichaelblank.com. It's THE, michaelblank.com. And it's basically how to not sound like a multifamily newbie, all with dashes. Okay, so how then dash to not sound like a multifamily newbie, and multifamily is written together. There's an article there of what you can do, some scripts you can use so you don't sound like a fool. And number 2, of course, is to educate yourself so you're using the right language. But that's oftentimes the number 1 reason you're asked for proof of funds is because you sound like a newbie. So let's say you don't sound like a newbie, but you still get asked for a proof of funds. What do you do then? And you follow tip number 2. You basically push back. You basically, look, Mr. Broker, I understand your concern about our ability to close, but, I have a team in place. I have investors in there. We're syndicating this deal. We don't have the money laying around. It'll be in a bank account, a week before closing. So I can't actually give you a proof of funds. But how about this? Why don't we get together for a lunch meeting? And if at the end of it you don't feel comfortable moving forward with me to contract or letter of intent or whatever the case may be, we'll part as friends. Now you're pushing back and you're saying you're calling for a meeting to get it's a comfort level thing. If after hearing your story about all the things you've done, the team you've built, and the deals you're looking at, and the investors you recruited or whatever, they make out, look, and this happens very, very, especially if you meet them in person. They kind of say, I get it now. You're really serious about this stuff, and I can sell you to my seller. It's a great way to push back, explain the situation, and suggest an in-person meeting to make that broker comfortable. All right, so tip number 3, if that don't work, then I would make the proof of funds contingent on on the signing of a letter of intent. So make it contingent of within 48, 72 hours, I will supply a proof of funds. And that does 2 things. Number 1, it buys you time. But number 3, when you get a proof of funds, which we'll talk about in the next tips, if you actually have to get a proof of funds, you don't want to run to get proof of funds for something that's not real. And real is a signed document, right? Because, and I'll explain to you the process of getting a proof of funds, but it's onerous on behalf of the person you're getting them from, and you want to use those lightly. So if you must agree to a proof of funds and make it contingent on signing something, an LOI, or maybe even better, a contract. Within 48 hours of signing the contract, I will get you the proof of funds. So the farther back you can push it, the better. The minimum is signing of an LOI. I wouldn't even say anything before then. I'm not with the LOI, it's within the LOI, because otherwise I'm not going to my investors for no reason whatsoever, not even knowing if we have some agreement here. So I would totally push back in that way. So tip number 4, if you've done those things and you actually now need to get something. So one thing you can do is you can demonstrate intent, not quite by providing a proof of funds, and I'll talk about what that is. But so instead of providing an actual proof of funds, what you do is let's say you have verbal commitments from your investors. What you do is you basically have them sign a very small 1-page letter of intent to invest. It says, hey, Michael's a good guy. I have $100,000 I want to invest with him, and if the deal's right, I will invest with him. Kind of like an intent. And you have, let's say you're raising $250,000 and you have 5 people at $50,000. Then you have each part of those investors sign this document, and you can include that with your letter of intent that you're submitting as an offer. And it just makes your offer more credible. And it would actually possibly satisfy that requirement. Now, if that does not satisfy the requirement, you need to actually you've done all these things and it just simply does not satisfy it, and you really want to get in this deal and you haven't walked from this guy because he's being a pain in the butt. If you actually must get a proof of funds, here's how you do it. Get it from one of your investors or another high net worth individuals. Now, what you're looking for is this. Here's what a proof of funds is. It's either an excerpt of an account statement, a brokerage account or bank account with the account number, crossed out. Or it could be even better. It could be a one-page letter from the financial institution of this individual that says, so-and-so has, $400,000 in management with us. Please call me with any questions. And it doesn't cost them anything. It's very easy to produce. And you can actually create the template for them. And it's just very easy to do. And the person, number one, who's providing you with proof of funds doesn't actually have to invest with you at all. It could simply be a friend of a friend who wants to help you with this letter. And it does not obligate him to use the money or invest with you at all. And this kind of makes the whole proof of funds thing kind of a meaningless exercise, because you provide this proof of funds, and if it's not in the name of LLC you're buying in, then it's kind of sort of useless, right? But first of all, you don't even have the entity created that you're buying the building with, so you can't provide a proof in the entity. And 99% of the time, you're not going to be asked for that. So basically what you're providing is you're showing someone that you know someone with money. That's how meaningless the proof of funds exercise is, which is why I kind of, I belittle it on the one hand, but on the other hand, sometimes you got to jump through the broker's hoops, and that's what we're doing here. So that you basically, tip number 5 is get it from a high net worth individual that you know who wants to help you. And then tip number 6 is you can also get a proof of funds from me. Now you have to have in order to get a proof of funds with me, you have to have my syndicated deal analyzer. Because before you submit a proof of funds, I need to know that you're underwriting, you're analyzing a deal correctly. So the deal analyzer you can get through my website, themichaelblank.com, or just search for syndicated deal analyzer on Google and you'll find it immediately. And you have to be in my Dealmakers Mastermind program, which currently, as I record this, is only $49 a month. The reason for that is because it allows you to upload your analysis, get feedback from a coach on your analysis, and if you feel like you're ready to partner or get a request a proof of funds, you can submit it for a deal desk. And again, I do this sparingly for the reasons I just outlined, but if you are getting into a deal and you absolutely need a proof of funds, I will give you one up to $1 million right now. So those are your 6 tips. Number 1, before you get started, don't sound like a newbie, because you'll avoid 80% of the time being asked for proof of funds. Push back by saying you're a syndicator, you don't have the money, let's meet. Number 3 is make the proof of funds contingent on at least a signed LOI. Number 4, submit with your LOI the letter of intent to invest from your investors. That's also pretty cool. And then tip number 5 and 6 is basically get a proof of funds from a high net worth individual or for me if you're in my minimal Dealmakers Mastermind program. So if you follow the steps, you'll never get stumped by a proof of funds again, and you are well on your way to your first deal. All right, that's all I have for now about that topic. If you want more information about raising money, please check out all of my free resources on themichaelblank.com. That's THE, michaelblank.com. And there's a free ebook there that I want you to take a look at, which is called The Secret to Raising Money to Buy Your First Apartment Building Deal. I also have a lot of blog articles, videos, and podcasts all around raising money. So hope you found that useful, and I'll catch you on the next episode. Hey, thanks so much for sticking around to the end of the video. I want to leave you with 3 next things to do. I'll give you a quick tour of those, and I'll tell you how to do them. Step number 1 is to download my free ebook, The Secret to Raising Money to Buy Your First Apartment Building Deal. It is an awesome ebook full of tips for raising money and how to do that. So that's number 1. Number 2 is to subscribe to my YouTube channel, because I put out new videos all the time, and I'd hate for you to miss it. And number 3 is to watch the next video in line. All right, so what you're going to do is you're going to click on the first thing, which is to download the ebook. That'll open up a new tab. The video will stop playing. You're going to get the ebook, and then go back to this video, and then click on number 2, right, which is to subscribe on the channel. That'll open a new tab, and then you can go back to the third one and just click on the next video in line. All right, so hope you find that helpful, and I'll see you in the next video.